Welcome back, the rare and valuable coins today. We're diving deep into the world of Kennedy half-dollar coins, but not just any. Half-dollar, we're talking about the ones that sold for thousands of dollars at auction. So let's get started. First, up the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar with the D. Mint mark is an interesting coin that continues to attract collectors and coin enthusiasts. While it may not be one of the rarest or most valuable coins in the series, it carries strong historical significance and represents an important chapter in American coinage. The Kennedy half-dollar was first introduced in 1964. Created as a tribute to President John F. Kennedy shortly after his tragic assassination. Americans quickly embraced the design, and the coin became popular both as a circulating piece and as a keepsake. The 1972 issue was part of the ongoing production of this coin, and it reflected the shift in composition and minting practices that had taken place after the 1960s. The coin we are discussing today was struck at the Denver Mint, which is indicated by the D Mint mark located just beneath Kennedy's neck on the obverse. The year 1972 is displayed prominently at the bottom of the obverse side, beneath the profile portrait of Kennedy. Above his head appears the word Liberty, and the national motto "In God We Trust" is shown across the field, with the words separated on both sides of the portrait. The obverse was designed by Gilroy Roberts, the chief engraver of the United States Mint at the time. His rendering of Kennedy's portrait has become one of the most iconic designs in American numismatics, immediately recognizable and cherished. For decades, the reverse of the coin, designed by Frank Gasparro, depicts the presidential seal. This detailed design shows a heraldic eagle with wings spread wide, a shield on its chest, and an olive branch in one talon with arrows in the other. The eagle's beak holds a scroll with the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many. 1. Surrounding the eagle are 50 stars representing the states of the Union. At the top are the words United States of America, and at the bottom the denomination half-dollar. This design was carefully chosen to honor Kennedy while also symbolizing American strength, unity, and resilience. Unlike the very first Kennedy half-dollars that were struck in 1964 with 90% silver content. The 1972 issue did not contain silver in its regular circulation strikes. Instead, these coins were composed of a copper core with outer layers of copper and nickel, known as copper-nickel clad. This was the same composition that had been used since 1971. After the Mint discontinued the 40% silver half-dollars that were produced between 1965 and 1970, the change reflected the rising cost of silver and the need to issue coins that could be produced more economically for circulation. The total weight of the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar is 11.34 grams. Its diameter measures 30.6 millimeters, and it features a reeded edge. The Denver Mint produced more than 140 million Kennedy half-dollars in 1972, a very high mintage that ensures the coin is still common today. Because of this large number, circulated examples are easy to find, and even many uncirculated examples remain available to collectors. For this reason, the 1972 D half-dollar is not considered rare, and its value is modest compared to other dates or special varieties. When evaluating a specific coin like the one described here, its condition plays a significant role in determining its market value. This coin is noted to be in extra fine condition, which means that although it shows some wear, the main details of the design are still sharp and visible. On the obverse, extra fine condition would show slight wear on Kennedy's hair above the ear and on his cheek, but the overall portrait remains clear and defined. On the reverse, some wear may appear on the eagle's breast feathers and on the arrows, but the finer elements of the design are still strong. However, it is also mentioned that this coin has some scratches, which detracts from its eye appeal and reduces its overall desirability to collectors. Scratches are considered damage, and while they do not erase the history of the coin, they do lower its grade and market price. In today's market, a 1972D Kennedy half-dollar in extra fine condition with scratches generally carries a value close to its face value, which is 50 cents. Because it contains no silver, its worth is tied mostly to its collectible demand rather than its metal content. In higher grades, such as uncirculated mint state condition, values increase slightly. A typical uncirculated 1972D half-dollar might sell for around $3 to $10, depending on the sharpness of the strike and the absence of marks. Coins that are professionally graded at mint state 65 or higher can bring higher prices, sometimes reaching $40 or more, but these are the exception rather than the equivalent. It is worth mentioning that some varieties and errors from the 1972 half-dollar series are more valuable. Next up, the 1973 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark is an interesting piece of American coinage, representing a continuation of the Kennedy series that began in 1964. The absence of a mint mark tells us that this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, as the Philadelphia facility did not use mint marks on half-dollars at this time. The Kennedy half-dollar series was created as a tribute to Presidents John F. Kennedy following his tragic assassination in November 1963, and it quickly became one of the most beloved and widely recognized coins in the United States. The obverse of the 1973 half-dollar features a detailed portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts, who was the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint at the time. This portrait captures Kennedy in a left-facing profile, a strong and dignified image that resonated with the American public. Surrounding the portrait at the top is the word Liberty, and below the neck of the portrait is the date 1973. The national motto, "In God We Trust," is inscribed across the field, split on either side of Kennedy's neck. Beneath the neckline is a subtle engraving of the artist's initials. This design is instantly recognizable and has remained in use for decades, symbolizing both Kennedy's legacy and the period of American history during which it was issued. On the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparro, we find the presidential seal. At the center is a heraldic eagle with its wings spread wide. The eagle clutches an olive branch in its right talon and a bundle of arrows in its left, symbolizing peace and strength. A ribbon flows from the eagle's beak, carrying the Latin motto E pluribus unum, which means out of many, one. The eagle is surrounded by a ring of 50 stars representing the states, with the inscriptions United States of America at the top and half-dollar at the bottom. The design was intended to honor Kennedy while also conveying the ideals of unity and resilience, making the half-dollar one of the most patriotic coins in U.S. history. While the first Kennedy half-dollars in 1964 were struck in 90% silver, by 1971 the mint had removed silver from circulation strikes altogether. The 1973 issue, including those struck at Philadelphia without mint marks, were composed of copper-nickel clad. This meant they had a core of pure copper with outer layers of copper and nickel bonded to it. The total weight of the coin is 11.34 grams with a diameter of 30.6 millimeters and a reeded edge. Some special collector versions of the Kennedy half-dollar were struck in 40% silver for proof sets and uncirculated sets from the San Francisco Mint. But regular 1973 Philadelphia circulation strikes contained no silver. One unique detail about the 1973 Kennedy half-dollar is that, unlike most years, these coins were not released into general circulation. Instead, they were issued only in collector sets, such as mint sets and proof sets. This decision was made because the Mint anticipated low public demand for half-dollars at the time, so the 1973 half-dollars were intentionally limited. This makes the 1973 issues slightly scarcer compared to other dates, although they are still considered fairly common among collectors because many sets were preserved. The coin in discussion here is in fine condition, which means that it has seen circulation and shows significant wear. In fine condition, Kennedy's hair above his ear and forehead would be noticeably worn down, with many details flattened, though the main features of the portrait are still visible. The lettering and date remain readable, though some small details on both the obverse and reverse may be less distinct. In addition to its general wear, this coin also has scratches, which further lowers its appeal and value in the collector's market. Scratches are considered damage rather than normal circulation wear, and they detract from both the grade and the eye appeal of the coin. In terms of market value, the 1973 Kennedy half-dollar without a mint mark, in fine condition with scratches, does not carry significant monetary worth. Because it is not a silver coin, its intrinsic metal value is only tied to its copper-nickel composition, which is worth less than its face value of 50 cents. For most collectors, examples in worn and scratched condition are valued only at their face value. However, uncirculated examples from mint sets or higher-grade proof issues can carry more value, typically ranging from $2 to $10 depending on condition and presentation. High-grade coins that have been professionally graded in mint state 65 or above may bring even higher premiums, sometimes exceeding $50, especially for coins with exceptional eye, peel, or strong strikes. Some varieties or errors from 1973 can also be valuable. Next up, the 1973 Kennedy half-dollar with the D mint mark is another fascinating piece of U.S. coinage that continues the legacy of honoring President John F. Kennedy after his tragic assassination in 1963. This particular coin was minted in Denver, as indicated by the D mint mark, which appears on the obverse side of the coin just below Kennedy's neck and above the date. The 1973 Kennedy half-dollar series carried on the popularity of the design that was first introduced in 1964. And, even decades later, it remains one of the most collected coins in American history. The obverse of the coin was designed by Gilroy Roberts, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint at the time. It features the left-facing portrait of John F. Kennedy, with his distinctive hair and strong profile capturing the attention of collectors and the public alike. The word Liberty is inscribed across the top rim of the coin, and In God We Trust is divided across the field, with In God on the left and We Trust on the right. Beneath the portrait is the date, 1973, and just above it is the small D mint mark, confirming its production at the Denver Mint. This obverse design has remained a constant on Kennedy half-dollars since its introduction, making it a familiar and enduring image in American coinage. On the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparro, is the heraldic eagle derived from the presidential seal. The eagle is shown with its wings spread wide, holding an olive branch in its right talon and a bundle of arrows in its left, symbolizing America's desire for peace, balanced by readiness to defend itself. The eagle's chest is adorned with a striped shield, and above its head is a ring of stars. A ribbon held in its beak bears the Latin phrase E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. Surrounding this central image are 50 stars, representing the states along with the inscriptions United States of America at the top and half-dollar at the bottom. This reverse design communicates strength, unity, and patriotism, qualities that reinforced Kennedy's enduring image in American history. By 1973, the Kennedy half-dollar was no longer produced with silver for regular circulation. From 1965 through 1970, circulating Kennedy half-dollars were made with a 40% silver composition. But beginning in 1971, the mint transitioned fully to a copper-nickel-clad alloy for general strikes. Thus, the 1973D Kennedy half-dollar is composed of a pure copper core with outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel. It weighs 11.34 grams, has a diameter of 30.6 millimeters and features a reeded edge. Special collector's editions of Kennedy half dollars, such as proofs, were struck at the San Francisco Mint, but those contain silver only in certain commemorative or special issues. Regular 1973D coins, like the one we are discussing, contain no silver. One detail that makes the 1973 Kennedy half dollar stand out is that these coins were not widely released into circulation. Instead, they were primarily included in mint sets and proof sets made for collectors. This decision was made because the half dollar was not heavily used in everyday commerce, and the mint produced fewer quantities than for other denominations. As a result, while the 1973 Kennedy half dollar is not rare, it is somewhat scarcer than other dates, especially in high grades. Many were preserved in uncirculated sets, while those that did enter circulation, like this example in good condition, often show noticeable wear and scratches in good condition. A 1973D Kennedy half dollar will show clear evidence of circulation. The high points of Kennedy's hair on the obverse will be worn, with the finer strands largely smoothed out. The details in Kennedy's cheek and jawline may appear flatter, and small scratches or contact marks are likely visible across the surface. On the reverse, the eagle's feathers and shield lines may be worn down, though the design remains identifiable. The rim lettering and date remain readable, but the overall appearance of the coin reflects its time in circulation. Scratches, which are present on this example, further detract from the coin's overall eye appeal and numismatic value in today's collector market. The value of a 1973D Kennedy half dollar in good condition with scratches is modest. Because it is a clad coin and not made of silver, its intrinsic metal value is tied only to its copper and nickel content, which is less than its face value of 50 cents. For most collectors, such a coin holds little premium above its face value unless it is in uncirculated condition. Typically, a circulated 1973D Kennedy half dollar in good condition might sell for between 50 cents and $1, with scratches keeping it closer to the lower end of that range. Uncirculated examples from mint sets can bring $2 to $5, while high-grade mint state coins professionally graded MS-65 or higher can command $20 or more. Exceptional gems in MS-67 or above are much scarcer and can fetch prices well over $100 at auction. Collectors also look for errors and varieties that can make certain 1973D Kennedy half dollars more valuable. Doubled die obverses or reverses. Striking errors, such as off-center strikes or coins with planchette flaws, are especially prized. While these are rare, they demonstrate how even a common date like 1973 can occasionally yield a coin worth far more than its standard value. Even though this particular coin, in good condition with scratches, does not command a high market price, it still has historical significance. It represents a period in U.S. coinage when the mint shifted away from silver and began producing coins primarily for collectors rather than circulation. It also carries the legacy of President Kennedy, whose image on the half dollar continues to inspire collectors and everyday Americans alike. For a collector building a complete set of Kennedy half dollars, even a circulated 1973D, like this one, has a place in telling the story of the series and American history.